Hello everyone. In today's video lecture we are going to study about FPGA based system. Manufacturers were able to provide larger programmable implementation fabrics by replicating the basic PAL structure on the chip. PAL means programmable array logic. For large designs, mapping the circuit onto CPLD resources becomes very difficult and results in insufficient use of the resources provided by the chip. For this reason, manufacturers turned to an alternate programmable circuit structure based on smaller programmable cells to implement logic and storage functions combined with an interconnection network whose connections could be programmed. These structures were named as Field Programmable Gate Arrays, that is FPGA, since they could be thought of as arrays of gates whose interconnection could be programmed in the field, away from the factory where the chips were made. Manufacturers provided CAD tools to allow designs expressed in HDL, that is hardware description language, to be synthesized, mapped, placed and routed automatically, though with designer intervention if necessary. Since their introduction, FPGAs have grown in capacity and performance and are now one of the main implementation fabrics for designs, particularly where product volumes do not warrant custom integrated circuits. So these are some of the applications of the FPGAs: aerospace and defense, ASIC prototyping, automotive, broadcast, Pro AV, consumer electronics, data center, high performance computing and data storage, industrial, medical, video and image processing, wired communication, etc. These are different areas in which the FPGA can be used. Internal organization of FPGA. Most FPGAs available today include an array of logic blocks that can be programmed to implement simple combinational or sequential logic functions, input-output blocks that can be programmed to be registered or non-registered, as well as implementing various specifications for voltage levels, loading and timing, embedded RAM blocks, and programmable interconnection network. The more recent FPGAs also include special circuits for clock generation and distribution. The specific organization as well as the names used for the blocks varies between manufacturers and FPGA families. So here the diagram or the figure, it shows the internal organization of an FPGA consisting of logic blocks, that is labeled as LB, input output blocks labeled as IO, embedded RAM blocks labeled as RAM, and programmable interconnections which are shown in the gray color. Similarly, a slice of Xilinx Spartan 2 FPGA logic block is also shown. In many FPGA components, the basic elements within logic blocks are small 1-bit wide asynchronous RAM called lookup tables or LUTs. The LUT address inputs are connected to the inputs of the logic block. The content of an LUT, that is the lookup table, it determines the values of the Boolean function of the inputs. By programming the LUT content differently, we can implement any Boolean function of the inputs. The logic blocks also contain one or more flip-flops and various multiplexers and other logic for selecting data sources and for connecting data to adjacent logic blocks. So in the slice of that Spartan 2 FPGA logic block, the logic block of Xilinx Spartan 2 FPGA, it consists of two slices together with small amount of additional logic. Each slice consists of two 4-input LUTs each of which can be programmed to implement any function of 4 inputs. The carry and control logic consists of circuitry to combine the LUT outputs. These are the LUTs, these are the carry and control logic. XOR gate and AND gate for implementing the adders and multipliers, as well as multiplexers that can be used to implement a fast carry chain. Additional components allow programming for various signals to be negated. A number of connections within the control and carry logic are governed by programming of FPGA. The logic block contains SRAM cells for these programmable or programming bits. In contrast to LUT based logic blocks, which can implement relatively complex functions, some FPGAs have more fine grained logic blocks. For example, logic block of Actel FPGAs contains just enough gates, multiplexers and switches to implement combinational functions of 3 inputs or flip-flop with set or reset. Since each logic block is smaller and simpler, CAD software that maps a design into FPGA resources may find it easier to perform its task without leaving parts of logic blocks unused. However, a given design will require more logic blocks and consequently denser interconnections between them. This may make the place and route software task more difficult. The I/O block of FPGA is typically organized as shown in the figure, but with some variation between components from different vendors. The select input of the multiplexers are programmed to control whether the output is registered or combinational. The top flip-flop and multiplexer control the high impedance state of the tri-state driver that drives the pin as an output. This is the tri-state driver. The output driver is programmable, allowing selection of logic levels, that is regular 5 volts TTL and low voltage TTL or others, and control of slew rate, that is rate of voltage change at the output. The input buffer is likewise programmable, allowing selection of threshold voltage and other characteristics. The pull-up and pull-down resistors are programmable, allowing them to be connected and the resistance to be selected. The reason for making all these characteristics programmable is to allow the FPGA to be used in wide range of systems that use different signaling standards between chips and to accommodate the different drivers and loads to which different pins of FPGA may be connected. The RAM block in the FPGA provide for storage of information to be processed by the FPGA circuitry. Many applications require data to be input in blocks or streams and for chunks of data to be processed at once. The RAM blocks can be used to store such chunks between processing steps. Also, when an embedded processor is implemented within an FPGA, RAM blocks provide a place to store the processor's instructions and the data upon which it operates. Typical modern FPGAs provide synchronous static RAM, that is SSRAM, blocks that can be programmed to be flow through or pipelined, and that has 2 access ports that can be programmed to be read only or read write. The RAM blocks are each relatively small in capacity but can be interconnected to form larger memories. Each block can be programmed to trade off the number of locations against the number of bits per location. For example, in Xilinx Spartan 3 FPGA, each RAM block has a total of 18K bits of storage, which can be programmed to provide 16K 1-bit, 8K 2-bit, or 4K 4-bit, or 2K 9-bit, or 1K 18-bit, or 512, that is 512 36-bit organization. 9, 18, 36-bit organizations can be used to provide parity bit with each byte, or the extra bit per byte can be ignored. The number of RAM blocks varies from 4 to 104 among different members of Spartan 3 family. FPGAs from other vendors provide similar storage capacities and organizations. Each of the various logic I/O RAM blocks on FPGA connect to interconnection wires through programmable switches. The connections can be programmed so that a given input or output of the block can be connected to a wire that passes the block. The interconnections between logic blocks consist of a mix of short and long wires, possibly wires of intermediate length, depending upon the FPGA. Short wires connect nearby logic blocks, whereas long wires connect distant logic blocks or connect to a number of logic blocks distributed across the FPGA. It is the job of the place and route software to ensure that parts of the design are implemented in logic blocks in such a way that the interconnection resources can be programmed to wire up the design. There are two forms of FPGA that differ in the way they are configured. The first form uses RAM cells to store the configuration information. The main advantage of this approach is that an FPGA can be programmed after the chip has been assembled into a system, without the need for any separate handling during manufacture. Furthermore, the system can be upgraded after delivery by storing new configuration information rather than having to replace chips or other hardware. If the configuration is stored using volatile SRAM cells, it needs to be loaded each time power is applied to the system. Hence, the configuration needs to be stored in a separate non-volatile memory, and additional circuits need to be included in the system to manage loading the configuration. The two main FPGA vendors, Xilinx and Altera, both use SRAM cells for their devices and provide specialized flash RAM devices for storing and configuring the FPGAs. Other vendors such as Actel provide FPGAs that use non-volatile flash RAM cells for the configuration information. Such devices do not need the external components for storing or loading the configuration, thus reducing the overall system complexity. However, the trade-off is reduced maximum operating speed. The second main form of FPGA uses antifuses to configure the device. An antifuse is a conductive connection that is formed during programming as opposed to being blown. Since programming is done by forming a connection, no storage is needed, either inside the FPGA or externally. Moreover, the device is less susceptible to soft errors due to radiation. However, the device must be programmed separately before being installed into the final system. This requires additional manufacturing steps and handling, adding cost to the manufacturing process. Platform FPGAs. Integrated circuit technology has developed continuously. This trend applies equally to FPGAs. As they have become denser and faster, it has become feasible to use them for applications requiring significant computational performance, such as audio and video processing and information encryption and decryption. In order to improve their usability for these kinds of applications, manufacturers have added specialized circuitry to the larger recent FPGAs, including processor cores, computer network transmitter, receivers, and arithmetic circuits. Such FPGAs are often called platform FPGAs, meaning that the chip serves as a complete platform upon which a complex application can be implemented. Embedded software can run on the processor cores with instructions and data stored in block RAMs. The network connections can be used to communicate with other computers and devices, and the programmable logic and specialized arithmetic circuits can be used for high performance data transformations required by the applications. A minimal amount of circuitry is required externally to the FPGA, thus reducing the overall cost of the system. Thus, a newer category of FPGAs called platform FPGAs include more than just the FPGA fabric itself. They include several different types of structures so that each part of the large system can be efficiently implemented on the type of structure best suited to it. Platform FPGA typically include CPU so that some functions can be run in the software. It may also include specialized bus logic so that, for example, a PCI bus interface can easily be included into the system. Structured ASICs. Recently, manufacturers have developed a new kind of IC called structured ASICs that is midway between PLDs and standard cell ASIC. ASIC full form is Application Specific Integrated Circuit. A structured ASIC is an array of basic logic elements like an FPGA. However, it is not programmable and omits the programmable interconnect. Moreover, the logic elements are generally very simple, comprising a collection of transistors that can be formed into logic gates and flip-flops. Whereas an FPGA is customized by loading configuration program, a structured ASIC is customized by designing the top one or more layers of metal interconnection for the chip. Since the underlying logic elements and lower interconnection layers are fixed, the design effort and NRE cost for customization are much lower than those for a standard cell ASIC. Further, since the structured ASIC is not programmable, just customized by a design and manufacturing process, the performance is potentially very close to that of standard cell ASIC. Role of FPGAs. There is no wait for completing the design to obtaining a working chip. The design can be programmed into the FPGA and tested immediately. FPGAs are excellent prototyping vehicles. When the FPGA is used in the final design, the jump from prototype to product is much smaller and easier to negotiate. The same FPGA can be used in several different designs, reducing inventory costs. Characteristics. They are standard parts. They are not designed for any particular function but are programmed by the customer for a particular purpose. They implement multi-level logic. The logic blocks inside FPGAs can be connected in networks of arbitrary depth. PLDs use two levels of NAND NOR functions to implement all their logic. Programming FPGA. A variety of technologies are used to program FPGAs. Some FPGAs are permanently programmed, others can be reprogrammable. Reprogrammable FPGAs are also known as reconfigurable devices. Reconfigurable FPGAs are generally favored in prototype building because the device does not need to be thrown away every time a change is made. Reconfigurable systems can also be reprogrammed on the fly during system operation. This allows one piece of hardware to perform several different functions. Those functions cannot be performed at the same time, but reconfigurability can be very useful when a system operates in different modes. So you can see here that the FPGA programming bits have been stored in these places, and then the logic is being implemented inside the configurable logic blocks. This is an example of a microprocessor where the design consists of a location where instructions are stored and the CPU is configured. Types of logic used. FPGAs have traditionally used fine-grained logic. A combinational logic element in a traditional FPGA implements the function of a handful of logic gates plus a register. As chips become larger, coarser-grained FPGAs are coming into use. A single logic element in these chips may implement multi-bit ALU and register. Coarser-grained FPGAs may make more efficient use of chip area for some types of functions. FPGA versus custom VLSI, that is ASIC or Application Specific Integrated Circuit. The main alternative to an FPGA is ASIC. An ASIC is designed to implement a particular logic function. The design of an ASIC goes down to the masks used to fabricate an IC. The ASIC must be fabricated on a manufacturing line, a process that takes several months before it can be used or even tested. ASICs are typically distinguished from full custom designs. Full custom design has custom layout, while an ASIC uses pre-designed layouts for logic gates. Few larger digital chips include significant amount of custom layout. ASIC are designed for a particular purpose. They are generally faster, lower power than FPGA equivalents. When manufactured in large volumes, they are also cheaper. However, two trends are leading many system designers to use FPGA rather than ASIC for custom logic. Moore's law, which states that number of transistors that can be manufactured on a chip double every 18 months, indicates that millions of transistors need to be manufactured on the chip, so less time will be required to design an FPGA. Cost of masks for fabricating ASIC due to shrinking of transistors is very high comparable to FPGA, which uses standard parts. Goals and techniques. The logical functions to be performed is only one of the goals that must be met by an FPGA or any digital system design. Many other attributes must be satisfied for the project to be successful. Performance. The logic must run at a required rate. Performance can be measured in several ways, such as throughput and latency. Clock rate is often used as a measure of performance. Power or energy. The chip must often run within an energy or power budget. Energy consumption is critical in battery powered systems. Heat dissipation costs money and should be controlled. Design time. The system should not be designed forever because FPGAs are standard parts, have several advantages in design time. They can be used as prototypes. They can be programmed quickly and can be used as parts in final design. Design cost. Design time is an important component of design cost, but required support tools may be a consideration. FPGA tools are less expensive than custom VLSI tools. Manufacturing cost. It is the cost of replicating the system many times. FPGAs are more expensive than ASIC because of overhead of programming. However, the fact that they are standard parts helps to reduce their cost. Design challenges. The problems in the design are multiple levels of abstraction. FPGA design requires refining an idea through many levels of detail. Starting from a specification of what the chip must do, the designer must create an architecture which performs required functions and expand the architecture into logic design. Multiple and conflicting costs. Cost may be the expense of a particular piece of software needed to design some piece. Costs may also be in performance or power consumption of the final FPGA. Short design time. Electronics markets change extremely quickly. Getting a chip out faster means reducing the cost and increasing the revenue. Getting out late may mean not making money at all. Requirements and specifications. Requirements are nothing but written description of what the system is to do. Specification indicates more formal description of the function. Performance, power consumption, cost are non-functional requirements. Hierarchical design and component hierarchy. Hierarchical design is a standard method for dealing with complex digital design. Divide and conquer rule is followed where the procedure's complexity is conquered by recursively breaking it down into manageable pieces. A component consists of a body and a number of pins. The figure shown here, it consists of two components with instance name and type name shown. The name shown here is large in brackets BX. Large, it indicates the instance name, and BX is the type name. Name of each pin and every net that connects them is also shown in the figure. Electrical connections which make up a circuit can be listed in two ways: netlist or component list. A netlist gives for each net the terminals connected to that net. A component list, it gives for each component the net attached to each pin. So here you can see two components are present. This component labeled B1 of W has A, B, C as the pins, and the component labeled SAND brackets X, it consists of pins I1, O1 and O2. Similarly, the external pins are P1, P2, P3 and P4, and even the net names have been mentioned here. So the component hierarchy is that we have one system labeled as named as large, which has been divided into B1 and SAND. So component list can be written in this way. Large is the whole system. It consists of P1, P2, P3 and P4. P1, it is connected through net 1. Sorry, P1 is connected through net 2, P2 connected through net 1, P3 O1 net and P4 O2 net. That is what is written here. Large colon P1 net 2, P2 net 1, P3 O1 net and P4 O2 net. Similarly, in the instance B1, A, B, C are the pins and they are connected to net 2, CX net and net 1. That is what is given here. A connected to net 2, B CX net and C net 1. In the component or instance labeled as SAND, I1, O1 and O2 are the pins and they are connected to CX net, O1 net and O2 net. Similarly, if we write the net list, we will be giving the description about the connections. So net 2, it is connected between the pins P1 and A. P1 is the pin of the complete system large, so large dot P1 and B1 dot A. B1 is the instance and A is the pin in that. So you write the component dot followed by the pin. Similarly, the other pins can be other nets can be described by giving the corresponding pins. Abstractions for FPGA design. You can see here we have specification, behavior, register transfer, logic, circuit, layout. Behavior. A detailed executable description of what the chip should do, but not how it should be done. Example, C program may be used as a behavioral description. It does not mimic the clock cycle by clock cycle behavior of the chip. Allows us to describe in detail what needs to be computed, error and boundary conditions, etc. Register transfer. The system's time behavior is fully specified. Input and output values on every clock cycle is known. Logic isn't specified as gates but as Boolean functions stored in abstract memory elements. Vaguest delay area estimates can be made. Logic. The system is designed in terms of Boolean logic gates, latches, and flip-flops. We cannot make extremely accurate delay calculations. Configuration. The logic must be placed into the logic elements around the FPGA and proper connections must be made between those logic elements. Placement routing perform these important steps. Methodologies. Methodology provides us with a set of guidelines for what to do, when to do, and how to know when we are done. Modern digital designers rely on hardware description languages or HDLs to describe digital systems. Schematics are rarely used to describe the logic. Block diagrams are often drawn at higher levels of the system hierarchy, but usually as documentation and not as design inputs. HDLs are tied to simulators that understand the schematic of the hardware. They are also tied to synthesis tools that generate logic implementations. Methodologies have several goals: correct functionality, satisfaction of performance and power goals, catching bugs early. That is, bugs need to be caught early in the design process. Good methodologies check pieces of design as and when they are finished to be sure that they are correct. Good documentation. The methodology should produce a paper trail that allows the designers to check when mistakes were made and to ensure that the things were done properly. FPGA configuration. All FPGAs need to be programmed or configured. There are 3 circuit technologies for configuring an FPGA. They are SRAM, antifuse, and flash. All major elements of FPGA need to be configured. So, the major elements of the FPGA are the interconnect, I/O pins, logic, interconnect, and the I/O pins. FPGA architecture. FPGA requires 3 major types of elements: combinational logic, interconnect, and I/O pins. These 3 elements are mixed to form the FPGA fabric. The combinational logic it is divided into relatively small units which are called logic elements, in short LE, or combinational logic blocks, that is CLBs. The logic elements or configurable logic blocks form the function of several logic gates. The interconnections shown here, the interconnections are made between logic elements using programmable interconnects. The interconnect may be logically organized into channels or other units. Several types of interconnects are available depending upon the distance between the combinational logic blocks that are to be connected. Clock signals are provided with their own interconnection networks. The I/O pins or I/O blocks are programmable to be inputs or outputs. They provide features such as low power or high speed connection. So this is a figure wherein programmable interconnects are shown, logic blocks are shown, I/O blocks are shown. This is another type of depicting the FPGA. Row-based architecture. Routing tracks are divided into smaller segments connected by antifuse elements between them. So it is row-based architecture. We have I/O blocks surrounding the complete architecture. You have logic blocks placed parallelly, and in between the rows of logic blocks we have routing channels. Hierarchical PLDs. Communication between logic blocks is achieved by programmable interconnect arrays. So here programmable interconnect arrays, programmable interconnects have been shown. Using this, the logic blocks can be interconnected. SRAM based FPGA. This figure, it shows SRAM based FPGA. It shows 2 applications of SRAM cells for controlling the gate nodes of the pass transistor switches and to control the select lines of the multiplexers that drive the logic block inputs. The figure gives an example of connection of one logic block represented by AND gate, in the upper left corner to another through 2 pass transistor switches. So this is the connection which is made from AND gate through the pass transistor to another AND gate. The connection has been made here. And then a multiplexer, all controlled by SRAM cells. You have one multiplexer here. This is also controlled by SRAM. Even the pass transistors are controlled by the SRAM, and the multiplexer is also controlled by the SRAM. Whether FPGA uses pass transistors or multiplexers or both depends upon the particular product. Anti-fuse FPGA. An anti-fuse is positioned between two in this you have two wires, and here the anti-fuse is shown, and this anti-fuse, it is enlarged and shown here. So anti-fuse is positioned between two interconnect wires. Physically it consists of 3 sandwiched layers. Top and the bottom layers are conductors, and the middle layer is an insulator. When unprogrammed, insulator isolates the top and bottom layers, but when programmed, the insulator changes to become a low resistance link. The insulator, it will change to low resistance link when it is programmed, causing both the conductors to have contact with each other, and or in other words, it allows the current or signals to pass. FPGA interconnect. An FPGA designer must rely on pre-designed wiring, unlike a custom VLSI designer who can design wires as needed to make connections. The interconnection system in FPGA is one of its most complex aspects because wiring is a global property of logic design. Connections between logic elements may require complex paths since the logic elements are arranged in two-dimensional structures. Connections need to be made between logic elements and wires and between wires themselves. So here example, through vertical channel, then horizontal channel, vertical channel, horizontal channel, vertical channel, and then this logic element is connected to this logic element. Wires are organized in wiring channels or routing channels that run horizontally and vertically through the chip, as shown here in this figure. Each channel contains several wires. Human designer or program chooses which wire will be used in each channel to carry the signal. Connection should be made between wires in order to carry a signal from one point to other. Segmented wiring. To allow logic designer to make all the required connections between the logic elements, the FPGA channels must provide wires of variety of lengths. As the logic elements are organized in regular arrays, wires can be arranged in such a way as to go from one logic element to another. So, the length is measured in units of logic elements. The organization is known as segmented wiring structure since the wiring is constructed of segments of varying length. Segments in a group need not all end at the same point. The segments of length 2 that are offset relative to each other is shown in the figure. So you can see that this particular segment, because it runs from first logic element to second logic element, or second to third, third to fourth, etc., you can see it is of length 1. But the segment of wire going from first logic element to the third logic element, it means its length is 2. Similarly, first to fourth logic element, you can see the length will be 3. First to fifth logic element, the length is 4. Design issues. Choosing FPGA will be based on the number of logic elements, size of each logic element, interconnect present, types of interconnect structures, length of interconnect, number of pins. Physical design of FPGA. To be able to configure an FPGA, place the logic into the logic elements in the fabric and choose the path for each of the nets that must be implemented. The way this is done affects the delay and energy consumption. Placement and routing has 2 phases. Placement determines the position of the logic elements and the I/O pads. Routing selects the path for the connection between the logic elements and the I/O pads. Evaluating physical design quality. Metrics to judge the quality of the placement or routing include size. Complete design has to fit into the chip. Placing and routing a subsystem should be compact. Number of logic elements used depends upon the logic synthesis. Delay. Slack, that is short delay path, that is critical to be considered. Design time for placement and routing, which component to choose next, which direction to take for the wire, etc. should be considered. Judging a placement. One way to judge the area of the layout before routing is to measure the total distance between the interconnections. We cannot measure the total wire length without routing the wires, but we can estimate the length of the wire by measuring the distance between the pins it connects. When straight lines between connected pins are plotted, then the result is rat's nest. As the wires are not routed at the end of the placement, we can't judge the placement quality by 2 obvious measures, that is area of the layout and delay. Complete routing cannot be executed for every placement. Metrics to judge the placement are: measure the total distance between the interconnections, estimate the length of the wire by measuring the distance between the pins it connects. When straight lines between connected pins are plotted, the result is known as rat's net. So while the rat's nest distance is not absolutely correlated to chip area, we would expect that placement which gave much longer rat's nest connections would eventually result in larger layout. This is nest. And here in this particular figure, what we can see is that you can see here the interconnects are longer, so it is bad placement of the logic elements. But here the logic elements are shuffled in such a way that the length of the interconnects used to connect the logic elements is small. Placement. While rat's nest distance is not absolutely correlated to chip area, placement which gave longer rat's nest connections would result in larger layout. Several ways to measure the distance are: Euclidean distance of direct line between the two, Manhattan distance, that is half perimeter, that is more reflective of the final wire length. It is also easier to compute as it does not require computing a square root. So this figure shows Euclidean distance between two points, and similarly Manhattan distance. Partitioning. Decomposition of a complex system into smaller subsystems. Each subsystem designed independently. Minimize the interconnections among the subsystems. Hierarchical decomposition until each subsystem is of manageable size. So, decomposition of a complex system is done into smaller subsystems. Each subsystem can be designed independently, speeding up the design process. Decomposition scheme has to minimize the interconnections among the subsystems. Decomposition is carried out hierarchically until each subsystem is of manageable size. The algorithms for the partition are bottom up and top down. Bottom up for clustering methods and top down for partitioning methods. Bottom up for clustering methods cluster together the nodes to create the partition. So we can see here in this particular figure, this node is brought nearer to the node, and you can see in the second step the two nodes are nearer to each other. Similarly, this third node, which is far away, is once again brought nearer in step 3, and this will form one cluster. Clustering algorithms build groups of nodes from the bottom up in contrast to top-down approach taken in the partitioning. A small number of nodes are used to create initial clusters. Nodes are then added to the clusters based upon their connections with other nodes. These algorithms may also interchange steps to improve the cost of the cluster. Partitioning. Top-down method for partitioning divide the nodes into groups that are further divided. So we can see here this particular figure consists of different nodes, and then this whole thing is divided or partitioned into two blocks containing 4 and 4 nodes each, and once again these two blocks are further divided into two halves, so that each block now consists of 2 nodes. Further, each block is divided into two blocks, such that total you can see in this figure you have now 8 blocks, each consisting of 1 node. Placement by partitioning. Partitioning process for a min-cut bisecting criterion is shown in the figure. The circuit is represented by a graph where nodes are the components and edges are the connections between the components. Graph's nodes need to be separated into 2 partitions that contain equal number of nodes and which have minimum number of edges that cross the partition boundary. So swapping 2 nodes reduces the net cut count to 1, a significant reduction. Several nodes may need to be moved before a better configuration is obtained. So in this figure, we have the node A, this is node A, this is node B, node C and node D. So the 2 blocks are present. Now here you can see that between the 2 blocks, the interconnects are 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 interconnects are present. So what did we do here? This node A is brought to partition 1 and node B is brought to partition 2. So once node A is brought to partition 1 and node B is brought to partition 2, the node A which was connecting to these 3 nodes, now node A is in the same partition 1 and it is connecting these 3 nodes. Similarly, node B, which was connecting A and it was connecting this particular node in partition 2. Now B is brought into partition 2, so you see the connection, it is internal. So between 2 blocks only one interconnection is present. as compared to the previous condition. Circuit partitioning. Partition a circuit into parts such that every component is within a prescribed range and the number of connections among the components is minimized. More constraints are possible for some applications. So you can see here that we have the circuit consisting of gates. Now this circuit can be partitioned in different ways. Here these 4 XOR gates are taken together and 2 NOR gates with 2 NAND gates are taken as one group. Whereas here you can see 3 XOR gates and 1 NOR gate is taken in one group, and XOR gate, NOR gate and 2 NAND gates are taken in another group. Each gate is in the graphical representation, each gate is represented by a node and the connection between the gates are indicated by the cuts or the interconnects. So here you can see if the partition is in this manner, then you can see between the two blocks the interconnections are 4, so the cut size is 4. Whereas here, if the partition is done in this manner, between the two blocks you can see you have just 2 interconnections, or the cut size is 2. What is cut size? Cut size is the number of interconnects between two blocks. Kernighan-Lin algorithm. It is well-known graph partitioning algorithm. It iteratively tries to find and move out of place elements in the partitions. Given an element E in the partition 1 that might be moved into partition 2, some measures can be computed to indicate whether E has to be moved or not. IE is the number of nets connected to E that have all their connections in partition 1. EE is the number of nets connected to E that have all their other connections in partition 2. If the node E is moved from partition 1 to partition 2, then all the nets counted in EE, that is the external connections, will no longer cross the cut, while the nets counted in IE, that is the internal connections, will cross. So if DE, that is equal to the difference between the external connections minus the internal connections, that is DE is equal to EE minus IE, the gain obtained by exchanging E and another node F will be given by G is equal to DE plus DF minus CEF, where CEF would be the correlation factor to avoid double counting shared nets. This algorithm exchanges sets of nodes between partitions to reduce the number of crossing net by exchanging sets of nodes rather than pairs. It can improve the partitioning even when moving any single pair of nodes will not give improvement. So here what we can see is that we have 2 blocks. Block 1 or partition 1 consists of A, B, C, D nodes. The partition 2 consists of E, F, G, H node. Now, what is the cut size? Cut size indicates the number of interconnection between the two blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the cut size is 5, or the cut cost is 5. Now, if D and G, the D node and the G node of both the blocks are interchanged, that means the D node which is in first partition is brought to the second partition and G is brought to the first partition. Then this G will be moved to the first partition, D will be moved to the second partition, and the connections would be in this manner. Previously 5 interconnections were there between the two blocks. Now 2 interconnections are present. So only the cut cost is 2 or cut size is 2, so cost reduction is 3. 5 minus 2, that is 3. Now let us say C and F nodes are to be interchanged. So when C and F nodes are interchanged, this would be the figure interconnections which we get. 2 interconnections were there previously, now 1 interconnection is there, so cost reduction will be 2 minus 1, so that is 1. So like this, if any other nodes we are going to interchange, the cost would increase. So that's why we should stop at this portion where C and F. After interchanging D and G, we interchange C and F and stop there. Then the cut cost or the cut size will become 1. Since dividing all the chips components into 2 partitions does not give a very fine direction for placement, the partitioning is usually repeated by creating sub-partitions of the original partition, a process known as hierarchy partitioning. The levels may be taken for the user's design description or by building clusters of predetermined size. So basically, using these algorithms, what we come to know is that where each gate or each logic element has to be placed and how interconnections will be done. Simulated annealing. It is well-known optimization technique that has been used in placement. It is analogous to annealing of metals. When a metal is heated up and cooled at proper rate, the atoms naturally coalesce into a low energy structure, but wrong cooling results in a bad structure. In simulated annealing, temperature is measured by the probability that an element will move during current iteration. A cooling schedule is a sequence of temperatures move probabilities over time. More elements move in iteration when the temperature is high, fewer move at lower temperature. A simulated annealing placement takes place over many iterations. At each iteration, some logic elements move based on probabilities parameterized by current annealing temperature. Where the selected elements move depends upon the placement algorithm used. They may initially occupy an empty spot. Several elements can occupy same position. The new placement is then evaluated using metric such as total wire length. The placer may keep some moves and reject others. For the next iteration, temperature is adjusted according to annealing schedule and the procedure is repeated. The moves are probabilistic and thus the next iteration results may be better or worse than the previous iteration. But because many iterations are performed with smaller and smaller changes as time goes on, the placement tends to coverage to a good result. Placement constraints. The designer may want to place constraints on the placement for the following reasons. The I/O pin placement may be determined by board layout, constraints, or compatibility. Some logic elements may be pre-placed, particularly when macros are used to describe the logic. Constraints are usually satisfied by placing those elements first and then placing unconstrained elements around them. Triptych FPGA has a fabric that emphasizes connections in horizontal dimension. The placers use simulated annealing. It uses wire length and other routability measures as cost metric during placement. Wire length clusters logic elements as close together as possible, which means wiring channels may be outsubscribed oversubscribed and the placement is unroutable. Two other costs measures used to balance proximity and routability are local routability cost function adds cost when it determines that a signal cannot be routed using global routing resources, and density smoothing tries to prevent local congestion, counts the number of logic element inputs used. So, a fast placement algorithm was developed by Shankar and Rose, where the first phase used bottom-up clustering. This phase randomly selects a logic element as a seed, then builds a cluster around the seed. The number of clustering levels and the size of the cluster at each level can be varied. Once the clusters have been constructed, they are placed around the chip based on their connections to the I/O pads and the connections between their clusters. Simulated annealing is then used to improve the placement. Routing. Routing selects paths for the connections that must be made between the logic elements and to the I/O pads. In an FPGA, the interconnection resources are predetermined by the architecture of the FPGA fabric. A connection must be made by finding a sequence of routing resources, all of which are otherwise unused and which share connections such that a continuous path can be made from the source to the sink. Global and detailed routing. Routing is generally divided into two phases. Global routing, which selects the general path through the chip but does not determine the exact wire segments to be used. Detailed routing selects the exact set of wires to be used for connection. Costs in routing. Routing has two major cost metrics, that is wire length and delay. Wire length approximates the utilization of routing resources. We clearly do not want to use more routing resources than are necessary for wires, since we may want to use those routing resources later for other parts of the design. Delay may be measured by looking at the delay on the paths with largest number of levels of logic, or by looking at nets whose delay is close to the maximum allowed value. Global routing. Requirements of various nets need to be balanced. Nets are routed one at a time, so the order in which nets are routed affects the final result. The problems faced in global routing are: a net may not be routable at all because there is no room available to make the connection, or it may take a path that incurs too much delay. Wire ordering. Many ways have been developed to determine the order in which the wires are routed. Route the most delay critical nets first, or start with large fan out nets since they consume many routing resources. Rig up and reroute is a simple strategy for choosing the order in which to route the nets. When a net is not satisfactorily routed, then already routed wires that are blocking the useful path are ripped up and put back in the queue of unrouted nets. Route the net using newly freed resources. If no solution is obtained, then abort the routing procedure. Routing with timing information. Timing information can be incorporated into routing decisions. Slacks are reallocated on each iteration of the global routing procedure. A variety of weights can be used to reallocate the slacks. A constant factor, number of fan outs of the net, delay per unit load times the total capacitive load, fan out times delay sensitivity, fan out times delay sensitivity times load capacitance. Maze routing for FPGAs. FPGA router follows wire segments. Once a wire segment is chosen for the path, both ends of the wire segment are available for connections. FPGA interconnect is modeled as a graph. Edges are the available wire segments and nodes are the connections between the wire segments. The router traverses the graph and finds the best connection between two nodes. Once a path has been used, it can be marked so that those wire segments are not used again. Routing algorithm developed by Nair. Costs assigned based on congestion and not on Manhattan distance. Every net is ripped up and rerouted. First routing pass is used to estimate congestion. Second routing used those estimates to redesign the wiring to minimize the effects of congestion. Triptych router applied more gradual penalty of congestion than had Nair's original algorithm. Cost of using a node n in a route is calculated as Cn is equal to Bn plus Hn into Pn, where Bn is the base cost of using the node n, Hn is the cost related to the history of congestion at the node n during previous routing iterations, Pn, it is the number of other signals currently using the node n. Pn is used to solve simple congestion problems. The term is gradually increased from one global routing iteration to the next in order to reduce the chance that a new signal will use a congested point. Hn is used to solve second order congestion problems. It remembers the history of congested nodes and helps to push some of those signals away to other, less congested nodes. The Triptych router adds delay to the cost of routing through node n with the formula Cn is equal to Aij dn plus 1 minus Aij into Cn, where Aij is equal to Dij by Dmax. Aij, it is the ratio of the longest path containing the desired connection and the total system delay. Swartz algorithm, also known as A-star search algorithm, it is designed to run very fast. The depth first search used to direct the router to the desired target, restricting the number of routing segments added during wavefront expansion of high fan-out nets by only adding segments that are in the neighborhood of the target. Hope you have understood the video lecture. Thank you.